kudos to the Wrestling Federation.
Absolutely.
Now, which other federations, to your mind, are doing well, in quotes?
Only one jumps to mind, that's para-powerlifting. They've been absolutely phenomenal in their, in their quest to bring glory and laurels to Nigeria. These are people who tremendously underfunded, started the federation all by themselves, but they've won more medals for Nigeria than any other individual sport.
What about table tennis? I thought they were doing good.
They are doing good as well, but the problem with table tennis is there is no proper investment at the grassroots level, which means that the transition from the very bottom to the top is stunted. We still have the likes of Fashikun, who has been to 7 Olympic Games, still competing for Nigeria. I have no problem with him. If he's good enough to qualify, he's good enough to qualify. But if you recall, in the 90s, in Lagos and across in every street in Nigeria, there were at least 2 table tennis boards on every street. What happened was that, for some reason, the police criminalized the sport, whereby if you see people gather playing table tennis, the police would swoop on the place and raid them and arrest them and say they were doing accuse them of kind of nefarious activities and stuff like that. No charges were brought against them. People were arrested. So table tennis died as a grassroots sport. It took the intervention of the board of former Eniton Oshodi and the subsequent boards that revived the sport and began to bring it back at the grassroots level. So that's why we still have some measure of success. But apart from that, the vast majority of Nigerian athletes have abandoned the sport, and some of them actually moved to other countries to compete for other countries.
Jide, let me come back to you. When we talk about the growth of sports and how the athletes have been treated, funding and management generally, it brings to mind I wrote down something here, school sports. We used to have secondary school games. We used to have primary school games. We used to have track and field events organized by the private sector, not necessarily government. But then the question is,
Invitation relays.
Invitation relays. What happens to the school sports federations? Do you think if this kind of federation was allowed to really function as it should, then there would be a marked difference?
There would have been, because there used to be when we were young. For instance, we used to have what was called the Youth Sports Federation of Nigeria, those days. And they gave us very large platform from where to compete within the state, from region to region, and at the national level. And the champions are always taken to international events. But all these structures are dead. Today, you have schools where the whole platform of the school, the entire school, is not up to a football pitch. And you want to ask yourself, what exactly are our targets? And that's part of the reasons why, for instance, 11 former Nigerian international athletes, we had to come together to say, look, we have to change the face of sports in this country. And the only thing we can do is to take them cell by cell. And that's, for instance, why we are doing 6 national athletics development centers in the country. The first one is in the Southwest. Now, we want to experiment with this and see how best we can now bring up new set of kids. Because, again, even in para-sports, you find out that it's almost the same set of athletes, like Toriola now, that are being used. In the next couple of years, we may not even have enough athletes to be able to represent us even in the para-sports again.
Tunde, where do we go from here? Now, just say this. The powerlifters, one of their major complaints is that nobody recognizes them. And they are asking for a meeting with the president when they come back from the Commonwealth Games. Do you think, besides the issue of administration and funding, would recognition make any difference for our athletes?
Yeah, I'd say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that these people who fly the flag of Nigeria so well at international competitions, so well. And they never truly get the respect that they deserve. They are incredible people doing superhuman things for a country that has shown little or no regard for them. So if they do get some kind of recognition, they utterly deserve it. Absolutely. But going forward, there has to be something more concrete done for them. And like I said, it goes back to administration. We have laws in place that discriminate discriminate against the existence of people with physical challenges in our society. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Until we have people in the National Assembly who ensure that laws are passed to ensure that these people have a place in our society, they are not discriminated against, then we will begin to make some kind of progress. Then again, we have to come back to the existence of a National Sports Commission. The Ministry of Youth and Sports, as it currently exists, cannot give Nigeria any kind of proper sports development. Because let's be factual. Civil servants are not benchmarked to bring about success. They're not challenged to bring about success. When we have a National Sports Commission, we advertise for positions for the Director General, for the heads of departments. These are people who go through a process of scrutiny. Then they are put in place, they are given a terms of reference and a specific term and deliverables. There are benchmarks that if we achieve this, then this is the next program. If we achieve this is the next program. And it is on the basis of that you renew their term. But when we have a situation whereby you look for someone within your party and said, okay, I think we haven't given you a portfolio, you can have this. That's the problem. Sports is an afterthought.
Just hold on. Let me bring in Jide here. Jide, the Sports Commission and the Sports Ministry, Tunde thinks we should scrap the Sports Ministry and have the Sports Commission because the people there will be more professional. Do you agree?
I agree with Tunde 100% because, again, I've been privileged over my 20 years in the senior national team in handball to have witnessed both the ministry and the Sports Commission. While we were under the Sports Commission, that was when I entered in 1979, the then Director General was Mr. Isaac Akioye, and a whole lot of the developments and gains we had were under the Sports Commission. Then we had a ministry where all the gains were eroded. Then there was a return of the Sports Commission after we failed, and a one-man committee under Samson Emeka Omerua was set up. And it was on the death of Omerua that General Obasanjo, as president, remembered that he had a committee, and the only thing he could implement quickly was part of the recommendation of Omerua's committee that we should return from ministry to Sports Commission. Now, we returned to Sports Commission, and we started having a whole lot of gains until we now, under the Buhari administration, returned to the ministry, and all the gains are now being eroded again. I think we require a Sports Commission, but again, we will wish that the National Assembly will put together the Act of Parliament to back the Commission.
Thank you so much. Jide Fashikun is a former athlete. Thank you for joining us. I'll just note here that we will be covering the 4th anniversary of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, but as soon as that starts, we'll bring it to you. Tunde, I understand that that event is starting right now. We'll bring that to you. But we'll continue our conversation here on our social media, online, and the conversation continues in the Sunrise Studio.
And of course, this program is repeated at 1 o'clock in the morning. If you can stay awake to watch it, you watch a full version of it.
But the online platforms, you can watch us. We're streaming live on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on our website as well. Tunde, going back now to the Sports Commission, some people will say it might be really tough because you have an entire sports ministry that would more or less be shut down.
Some of them can be moved to the commission.
Well, it's different. It's kind of difficult to mix oil with water. Two different entities.
We're just going up and down.
Two different entities. And the problem with Nigeria, in every sphere of life, is that we've always been too timid or too cowardly to take the hard decisions. The decisions that we know that are right, the decisions that we know that are inevitable, but we are too hard, we are too cowardly to take those decisions. The civil service in Nigeria, everybody knows, is over-bloated. Nigeria's recurrent expenditure is probably the highest in the world. We know that our legislators earn more than they should, earn a king's ransom. We know all these things. But like I said, we are too timid to make those decisions. If we need to scrap the Ministry of Sports and rebuild it from scratch, ensuring that the people who are there are not civil servants, people who are in there by merit, people who are there who understand what it is to develop and deliver goals that will bring about true development. then that is the exact direction that we should take. But we will never make those decisions because of political considerations, and that's the story of.
So, do you think the political considerations what's really hit the sports industry negatively? Is that why we don't prepare in time, or we don't fund our athletes well?
Well, it's part of it. It's part of the problem. The problem with Nigerian sports is it's so multifaceted. There's so many issues that crop up, and there's things that also things as simple as ego. One man doesn't like another man's face. Another man is not happy with the way another man spoke to him. Those are the things that you find at the heart of the troubles in Nigerian sport at times. You look at the Nigerian Basketball Federation, it is riven into two because of two opposing camps. One believes it has a legal mandate to run the federation. The other one also believes it has a legal mandate to run the federation. The other one was voted in and is also recognized by the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the government of Nigeria, and the International Basketball Federation. But the other one has access to funds, $12 million worth of funds, which were given to them by the last, which were given to them by a sponsor during their last tenure. So one has political power. Yeah, the other one has.
So why can't they come together? And is it for them or is it for the athletes?
No, one of them has to be the head. So am I going to leave? Am I going to step aside for you? Are you going to step aside for me?
It won't happen. And that is why, thankfully, the International Basketball Federation has stepped in and has now voided both elections and has ordered that new, fresh elections should be held so that we can have
Tunde, we have to go. So real quick, what about preparations for the World Cup?
Yeah, I must commend the Nigerian Football Federation. This has to be the best ever preparation that Nigeria has had going
better than 94.
Much better than 94.
Okay.
Because in this one, a cardinal issue that has always driven apart Nigerian national teams was sorted out. Before the competition even started, the national team, the NFF met with the players and said, look, you're entitled to this money. The Nigerian Football Federation will get this money, you will get this amount of it. Do you agree? They agreed upon that and signed off on it. If you remember, in 1998 and at the last FIFA World Cup in 2014, players stayed up until 2 a.m. the day before a match, fighting over bonuses. Yeah. There were pictures of Ghanaian players counting raw dollars in cash. Nigeria had to fly cash to Brazil to sort out players who are up in arms. But thankfully, this has been sorted out. And the training bases, everything, friendly matches, fantastic.
All right. Thank you very much, Tunde Koiki, a sports commentator, right? I think you like that one better. Thank you. So nice. We'll be back for Janet, and we're mastering beverage now. Please don't go away.